Welcome to this Pastel My Business online webinar.
When a customer is not in a position to settle their account, you can decide to write off the amount. This could be either because the business has been liquidated or the customer just doesn't have the means to pay you, so then you would do the write-off. In order to process a customer write-off in My Business Online, you will select the Customers option from the main menu bar, followed by the Customer Write-Offs option. Once you have clicked on the write-off option, you'll see that a list of all your previous write-offs will appear if you have done any. If you haven't, then the screen will be blank. So to process the customer write-off, you then click Add Write-Off. Then under the Customer tab, this is where you'll select that respective customer that you'd want to write off. A list of all the unpaid invoices for the respective customer will be listed at the bottom there under Unpaid Invoices. Then you can either enter an amount that you want to specifically write off, or if you want to select the entire invoice, you will then click on the invoice number at the bottom. For instance, if I only want to write off 50,000 of this invoice, I'll put in the amount there. In the reference field, you would enter a reference for the write-off, and it is recommended to record a reason for the write-off in the description field. This will just enable you to be able to keep track of all the write-offs that you would have processed already. Then you can click on either Process or Process Anew. I've just got a statement from Jan now. It's asking me if I can be heard. Can everybody hear me, or are we still experiencing a bit of audio difficulties with other people? All right, perfect. Thanks for answering, Jan. Yes, so with regards to customer write-offs, it's just to enable you to be able to, keep a track of, those amounts that you want to write off, either be it bad debts or, people are not in the position to settle their accounts. So they will use this option. You can then Yes, it's just a way to be able to, keep a track of your customers and see who's owing you what. If I wanted to write off the entire invoice, as mentioned before, you just select it. And then you can click on Process Anew, and keep on going through all the customers that you need to allocate the write-off for. As you can see, My Business Online is extremely easy, user-friendly, enables you to be able to do this write-off without really going through a whole lot of of screens. You would then select the customer. You can see the customer's balance straight up. You can either do the whole write-off or specify half the value. You then can also put in the date. So if you want to write off on a previous date, you just click on the drop-down menu to select that option to write off. and then ensure that you have a description. Don't worry about the document number. My Business Online will create that document number for you. And then you'll be able to see that the write-off amount is available to you on the last column of the screen that you want to write off. And then you can just click on process. At the top, next to the view button, you'll be able to filter the write-off screen either by, the write-offs that have been done today or that have been done, like all of them. You can even click on the search button and search through the write-offs. That's why it's very, very important to use the description, so you can either search by description with regards to the write-offs. As I mentioned before, that this webinar is shorter than usual. So if you do have any other areas that you want to focus on, please feel free to just put in that question, type it in, and then I'll look into it. Just since that our year end is coming up, and most companies are going to be dealing with the year end. So we will be having year end webinars on the 3rd of February as well as on the 17th of February, where we we'll be discussing the year end procedure, what reports you need to run in much more detail. So please look out for that email, which will enable you to sign up and log in. Okay, I've got a couple of questions. This is from Daniel, who says he's used to processing on Pastel Partner, where we normally allocate customer payments to the customer account via the cash book. How do you link the payments to the invoices in My Business Online? All right, Daniel, exactly the same way. You would go to the customers option. You can click on allocate the receipts, and with My Business Online, it's very, very easy in the sense that it's a drag and drop option. So as you can see, this is a receipt that has been done. So in order to, I'm just going to unallocate it so that you can see how in order to allocate it, you would just click on the receipt and drop it. Because obviously you would have processed that payment in the bank account. Remember, Daniel, this is My Business Online. We're not using that accountant language of debtors, credits, cash book. We've got our bank account and our customers. So in order to allocate it, you'll just click on the receipt and then you'll drag it and drop it. As I said, there's the receipt. I'm unallocating it so you can see it. And then to allocate it, you'll have the receipt and you drag it and drop. And that's how it will be allocated. All right. I hope I've answered your questions, because I see that you asked how do you link the payments to the invoices so that your outstanding invoices screen on the customer write-off process isn't flooded by invoices that have been paid but not matched. So this process will enable you to match your payments to the invoices. So that should enable you to do that. Then there's a question with regards to the VAT. Will the VAT be adjusted as well? I think I'll have to follow up on that. I'm assuming it should be should be adjusted as well. But as for clarity, I will send an email to you. I can only see that it's KH, but I will obviously have a printout of all the questions asked to be able to follow that up as well. There's another question from Albert, who's telling me Okay, I think he didn't ask that question. Another question with regards to, can you import your bank statement? Yes, you can. With My Business Online, under the banking section, you can download your bank statement either in a CSV or an OFX. Let me just get back to that format, which will enable you then to download your bank statement and then import it into your My Business Online to enable you to match transactions, basically save you time on processing. So we do have that option. You can just select your bank account, whatever format it is, and then you can import the file and start processing as you go along. All right, I don't see any more questions. Then there's one from Dennis. Is it incorrect to write off damaged stock as a write-off? Well, the write-offs under the customer side would be obviously for amounts, that have been invoiced. If for stock, in the sense that would just be an adjustment. What I would suggest, I'm just seeing under the item adjustments, if you could then be able to put it there. No, because under the item adjustments, that's where you'd be adjusting either the quantity on hand. What I would suggest is for writing off damaged stock, you select items and then item adjustments, and you select the quantity on hand, and then for the reason, you can then put there, damaged stock, because under the customer write-offs, that's for balances that, have been processed under the customer's account. So, you can't add stock under the customer section. So for your damaged stock, please click on the items tab, select the item adjustments, and then under the, select the respective the respective item, and then the reason, you can put the damaged stock, and then the new quantity, you can then, would subtract obviously the damaged stock. We can make it as in, and then make sure that you have the adjustment date, and you click on process. Then you'll see when you run your items, it will be able to, you'll see that the stock has been adjusted. You're asking to show an example of split payments. Is that when you say split payments, are you referring to amounts that you are matching to two different invoices, or how? I'm not too sure when you're going on what with regards to the split payments. So if you can please, Yaku, just put a bit of detail on which amounts or payments that you're talking about. Another question from Hyatt: how do you remove an item that hasn't been used? Yes, I think definitely under the same item adjustments, and you just put in a reason to enable you to, then be able to see what's going on. Because if an item hasn't been used, you can't delete it. First of all, if it hasn't been used and there isn't any history, you would be able to delete it. But if you've created it and maybe transacted, somewhere along the line, because you're saying hardly being used, so it would have been used already, you would then need to, go under the items and item adjustments and just make sure you put in the reason there. Heidi's asking with regards to reconciling bank statements. I'm just going through to the process banks. My apologies. You said you want to go through to the reconcile bank statements. Just waiting for the screen to open up. Just to fully, has just added on, the item has been used, but it doesn't need it anymore. You won't be able to, if it has been used and you don't need it anymore, you would just go under the items, item adjustments, and adjust the quantity and make sure you put in a reason. So obviously if you're adjusting it to 0, then you put the reason that it's not being used anymore, because you can't delete it if it has been. With regards to the reconciling of the bank statements, you would click under the banking, click under reconcile banks. You select the bank that you're looking for, and you would then, because if you had been processing in the cash book and you had imported or you had reconciled under, if you're processing in the bank account and you were processing the payments and the receipts, you do have the option to reconcile as you're going. That's why you have the option to say display reconciled transactions. You put in the statement balance that it should be, and then if it's reconciled, you'll just tick, tick, tick as you go along. What I was saying before, when you're processing, you do have the option to reconcile as on the fly. See, I don't have a statement where I can import. I'm seeing if there are any previous ones. You do have the recon on your far right hand side. You do have the recon option. So you can process the payments or process the receipts or transfer in or out, whatever your bank statements or bank activity is. Then you can click on reconcile or recon. When you click on recon, it's basically assisting you in the reconciliation process, because as you're going along, you don't have to then go through and check again for the whole entire reconciliation process. So it's basic. If you haven't clicked on this recon tab, then the options under the reconciliation would obviously be less. It's only those that you haven't selected the recon on, or those ad hoc transactions that will enable you to, or make sure that you do then click on the reconciliation. Make sure that you please enter the correct statement balance for your bank reconciliation, otherwise you might have discrepancies. So ensure that the correct statement balance is entered with the correct date. My apologies. The question about damage stock was from Denise, not Dennis, my apologies. Yes, Denise, as I said, we cannot add the stock under the write-offs because, as I said, it's, you know, it's an item and it's not a customer that would have been paid for it. So you'd have to just do the they still haven't, you just do the item adjustments. I see that you're saying that you still have some unanswered write-off questions. Please just type them in and then I will answer them as we go along. If a payment was allocated, this is a question from Andre. If a payment was allocated to an invoice that was 120 days ago and should have been allocated to an invoice of 30 days, how do you reverse that? So the payment was done 120 days ago and it was already allocated. Then what I would suggest is that you would unallocate it under the customer's allocate screens. You unallocate it just by dragging and dropping. Make sure that you've got the correct dates. And then you would allocate it to the correct invoice. You see, with my business online, because everything is date driven, it's easier to unallocate over a wider period instead of, when I say wider period, over maybe 3-4 months or 6 months, you can then unallocate it and move it along. Then it would be up to you with regards to, are you going to reverse that invoice, or you know, are you going to write it off, or are you just then going to, that balance going to end up for the customer? I'm just waiting for the screen to refresh on your side. So what you would do, you just go to the customers option. You click on the Just waiting because it's going to show me all the transactions. And then you would unallocate it, find that invoice, unallocate it under the 120 days, and then allocate it to the correct invoice under the 30 days. I don't know if on my side it's just refreshing. All right. Okay, this one doesn't. Okay, this customer doesn't have any payments that I've done. I just need to find one that has payments. Bear in mind, you do have the option at the bottom just to save as you work along, because remember that you will need to, if you don't want to lose any of the work that you've done. So please make sure that you click on save as you're working, because any unsaved data can be lost. Right, so I do have one with payments. Just waiting for the screen to refresh. So Andre, you would find that receipt, because as you can see, we've got, it's obviously, it's showing you all the receipts that have been done. So you'd find it under the 120 days, just basically unallocate it, and then you can then, bring it back to allocate it again to the correct invoices, right? So once you've unallocated it, you can then find the correct one to allocate it to.
Thank you for joining us for this My Business Online webinar. If you found it useful, please visit the Pastel website to find out about future My Business Online webinars or training courses. Alternatively, contact us on sales@pastelmybusiness.co.za.